Hello everyone and welcome back to another math video. Today we're going to be looking at the area and perimeter of complex figures in word problems, so similar to these problems that you see up on the screen. Just a reminder that this is the speedrun version of the lesson where we go through it pretty quickly. If you'd like the normal version of the lesson, I will link that in the description below. Okay, your Ricasso Recap starts now. In 30 seconds or less, here's what you need to know before you start this lesson. Firstly, you should already be familiar with perimeter and how to calculate it. Secondly, you should be familiar with area and how to calculate that as well. If you'd like refreshers on either of these two topics, I will link videos in the description below. Please go watch that before you start this lesson. All right, new lesson starts now. Here we go. So it says Turner has an L-shaped kitchen countertop. The picture shows what the countertop looks like. So here's our picture. It says, what is the total area of the countertop? So we obviously don't have a set formula for this type of shape, but what we can do is we can split this into some shapes that we know. For example, if we were to sort of draw an imaginary line right here, and now we see that we have this big rectangle that I've outlined in purple, and we can also see that we have this smaller rectangle that I've outlined in red here. And so now we can just calculate two rectangles and add them together. So for the big rectangle in purple, that would be 10 times 3, which is 30. And this is square feet. And in red, we have 5 times 3, which is 15 square feet. And now we just add those two together. 30 plus the 15 gives me a total area of this countertop as 45 square feet. So you split the rectangle or split the shape into something that you can work with. Now I will make a small note here. You could have also split your countertop another way, right? I could split it here. However, when you do that, you need to be careful because now, this whole side is 10, but because you've cut it, you need to do some calculation here. So for example, I know that from here to here is 3 because opposite of that is also 3, which means that this from here to here is now 7. Okay, so that 10 is not used. And then you'll end up with the same answer, but just keep that in mind. Depending on how you cut your shape, you might do it a slightly different way. Now for this one, it says Jake is putting a fence all the way around his vegetable garden to keep rabbits out. The picture shows Jake's vegetable garden. And it says, how long does Jake's fence need to be? So here we're not talking about area, right? We're talking about perimeter. And there is a side, specifically this side right here, that we do not know. So to find that side, we're going to take a similar idea. We're going to split this. Because now I know that from here to here is 6, because of the opposite side is also 6. And I know that from here to here is, according to the opposite side, 5. So now, find perimeter, we just add up all of our numbers on the outside. And when we add up all of our sides, we get the total perimeter is 40 feet. All right, last problem here. It says Elizabeth wants to paint the bricks on the wall around her fireplace. She will paint the entire wall except where the fireplace is. Except where the fireplace is. How many square feet will Elizabeth paint? So we're talking about painting the inside of a shape here. So we know it's going to be area. Also, it says square feet, so that's a hint that we're also looking at area. So what we're going to do is, let's first look at the entire wall, including the fireplace. So that would be a 7 by 10 rectangle. Area is 7 times 10, which is 70 square feet. So that's everything, including the fireplace. But now, let's look at the fireplace on its own. So the fireplace is also a rectangle, and that would be a 5 by 3 rectangles, so 5 times 3 is 15 square feet. And now, remember, she wants to paint everything except for the fireplace. So we're just going to subtract. We're going to do the 70, which is the whole wall, everything, minus the fireplace area, tells me that I'm going to have to paint, or she's going to have to paint, 55 square feet. Final answer. All right, here's our cool clock for today, which means that it's time for you to practice what you just learned. go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems on your own. And when you're ready, you can unpause the video and we'll check your answers. Okay, now they've had time to work these problems. Let's check your solutions. Okay, for the first problem, here is the work. You might have split your rectangles slightly different than I did, but at the end of the day, if you did your work correctly, we should have come up with the same answer, which is 138 square yards. And for the second problem, here is the work. You should have gotten 24 feet because you had to subtract off the 2 openings. All right, that is it for today. I hope you all have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.